The headline from Bloomberg. On May 10th, the headline from Bloomberg, EU preps $645 billion fund to fight wolf pack. Wolf packing, quote, what the hell is the wolf pack? Well, the wolf pack was laid out in a Wall Street Journal article the day before, in which they talked about a February 8th dinner in Manhattan hosted by Manas Crespi Hart and Company. 3 portfolio managers spoke about investment themes related to the European debt crisis. Donald Morgan, I'm quoting from the Wall Street Journal, Donald Morgan, head of hedge fund Brigade Capital Management, LLC, told the group he believed the Greek debt crisis would be an early domino that would fall. And here's another great quote. Hans Hufschmidt, senior Salmon Brothers executive, who now runs Global Op Financial Services, was at the meeting. He says, this is an opportunity to make a lot of money. 3 days after the dinner, the euro was hit with a wave of selling. Goldman, J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America's Merrill Lynch unit, and British Bank Barclays, all at the dinner. We're helping investors place particularly bearish bets. A particular type that the Wall Street Journal talks about is known as the tail risk trade, because it's, quoting again from the Wall Street Journal, its probability, if the euro sinks dramatically within a year, the investor will generate big returns. It's an extremely cheap bet. To make a $1 million return on this bet, you have to put up $70,000. And all you have to do is drive the euro down below a certain point. Well, that point for these guys to win, these guys who met in this townhouse in Manhattan back in February, that point for them to win this week was $1.29 on the dollar against the euro. And sure enough, Jim Sinclair over at jsmindset.com, in his newsletter yesterday, he says the euro must hold $1.29 or the wolf pack wins the day. And then he points out at 1:12 p.m., a little later in his post, at 1:12 p.m., the euro lost its grip on the $1.29 level. And now even the U.S. and Canadian governments are getting involved with 2 separate swaps. Wayne Root is on the line. Basically, what this looks to me like is that there's no place in the world that's safe. In fact, one of the guys who was at this meeting in Manhattan came out of the meeting saying, we can go after any sovereign debt, and was talking about California.
Well,
Wayne Root, welcome to the Wayne, let me introduce you properly, okay? Right. You were the 2008 Libertarian vice presidential candidate or nominee and the leading contender for the Libertarian presidential nomination in 2012. You're the author of 7 books. Your latest, The Conscience of a Libertarian, Empowering the Citizen Revolution with God, Guns, Gambling, and Tax Cuts. And rootforamerica.com is your website. So, Wayne, are we all being invited to a big fat Greek bankruptcy?
Well, that's certainly my thought. My commentary at my website, Root for America, was just that. We're all Greek now. Don't laugh or sneer at Greece, and don't worry about what the bankers are doing. You better worry about what's happening in Greece, because the contagion is spreading to Italy and Ireland and Spain and Portugal and France, where France's banks hold a lot of those loans in Greece. And the UK is in worse shape than any of them, and the United States may be in worse shape than all of them combined. So California and New York are our Greece. They're the best example of what happens when you spend too much money, when you waste too much money, when you hire too many government employees and you give them pensions that are far, far too big. You go bankrupt, and that's what Greece is signifying.
Well, Greece's debt right now is actually their debt has changed. Their debt originally was $40 billion, which was a third of what these banksters paid themselves just 5 months ago. And now, because these guys launched a concerted attack against that Greek debt, it caused Moody's to downgrade them from triple B to double B, which took them out of investment grade into junk grade, which caused the interest rate that they had to pay to jump up to 7% instead of 3%, which meant that the debt, when you project it out, suddenly became hundreds of billions of dollars. This is the result of this wolf pack. The Wall Street Journal just laid this thing out, Wayne. An exclusive idea dinner earlier this month that included hedge fund titans, SAC Capital Advisors, and Soros Fund Management. That'll make you crazy. Hosted by a boutique investment bank at a private townhouse in Manhattan. And these guys are and they talk about how they're borrowing 20 times the size of the bet, accentuating gains and losses. A euro move to $1 would represent a career trade. This could make billions for any of these individuals. And, Greenlight Capital, they're quoting President David Einhorn, and Lehman Brothers, they're all saying, we're going to go after Greece, But after we're done with Greece, there's a bunch of other European countries you can go after. And after that, maybe we can even go after California. How can you know, the United States in 1944, we were over 110% of debt to GDP. We were far worse than Greece. We grew our way out of that within 3 years. The big problem that Greece has is A, they're under attack. We weren't in 44. And B, they can't grow their way out of it. Well, because we've got a worldwide recession that's the result of these very same banksters.
But I'm not sure what you want to do here, Tom.
I want to put the banksters out of business.
But we've got freedom, and in other words, those banksters in many ways are doing a favor to Greece and those countries. They're called bond vigilantes. That's actually the name of what you call people who attack a certain country or their currency, and they're keeping us all honest by attacking that country. They're pointing out that country is pulling a fast one on the rest of the world.
Wayne, what they're doing would have put them in prison prior to 1982. Reagan made these kinds of derivatives legal in 82, but even then, everybody, they were considered so sketchy, nobody was using them until January 93, when Wendy Graham came along with the Commodity Futures Trading Corporation and said that she was going to create a safe haven for derivatives, and then her husband in 2000 with the Commodity Futures Modernization Act made them fully legal. These guys are using what Warren Buffett called weapons of financial mass destruction against a sovereign nation, and you're defending that?
I didn't come out here to defend that. I came out here to talk about that Greece is
You're
going
saying
down.
They're doing Greece a favor. I say they're trying to destroy Greece.
Greece has destroyed itself, Tom, with public employee pensions that were obscene by allowing people to retire at the age of 53.
Oh my God! How can we have people have pensions? And yes, they have a retirement age of 54. You realize, Wayne, that when they raise that retirement age up to 67, which is what the IMF is requiring them to do, it's going to massively increase the labor force in Greece, which is going to drive down wages, which is going to drive down tax receipts, which is going to make things even worse.
Listen, their only other choice is default. They've overspent for the last 50 years, the last 20 of them, so irresponsibly that it makes a drunken sailor pale in comparison. Greece was going under no matter what. This ship was sinking, and the bond vigilantes merely showcased to the world that this is not a way to run a country, and if you want to avoid this, you just run a good ship, Tom. If you don't bankrupt your country, the bond vigilantes can't do anything to you in the first place.
Wayne, when you compare Greece's debt to other European countries, other countries around the world, it's not all that radical.
No,
and it's nothing close to what we've had here in the United States. We just didn't have a friggin' wolf pack of banksters out to make billions of dollars doing absolutely not one damn productive thing going after a sovereign nation.
Well, first of all, in capitalism, you realize stock markets work.
This is not capitalism. This is cronyism.
Tom, you're allowed to bet both long and short. That's what keeps the stock market honest. You can't allow them to only bet long.
Actually, up until 1982, you weren't. You were only allowed to be a counterparty in a bet if you actually owned or intended to use the commodity that was being traded.
Tom, when you have a country, Greece, that spends irresponsibly and is massively in debt, and they need to borrow from the private market, and the private market will no longer lend the money, what is it that you think should happen? They're either going to default, or someone's got to come to their rescue.
If this meeting had not happened in Manhattan in February, and this wolf pack of banksters had not gone after this country, Greece would be just fine, Wayne, and you know it.
Greece wouldn't be fine. It's going bankrupt. So's California. So's New York. There's nothing fine about it.
This is because of the worldwide recession that's driving down revenues.
And it's getting worse because government got involved.
So, okay. All right, we'll leave it. We'll leave it on that for the moment. Wayne Root, rootforamerica.com. Wayne, always good talking with you.
All right, Tom. Good afternoon.
Thanks a lot.